Okay.
Yeah. We're back with Judge Hanisee, and we're talking about New Mexico Court of Appeals. I think the question where we left off before was how the cases are distributed once they get to you, to the Court of Appeals, and if anyone specifically is in charge of distributing the cases. I think that's what my question was.
Right.
Yeah.
We had talked about the random selection of judicial panels on any given case, 3-judge panels, and that's done by the clerk's office. And when the cases arrive at our desk, typically by the time they get to us, they've gone past the summary calendar I was talking about before, and they're on the general calendar. And at that point, the 3 judges that are assigned to the case begin to discuss it. We exchange short memos giving our initial impressions of the case, and we talk about the issues in it, and we sit down together informally, and every once in a while we sit together formally. Every once in a while we schedule oral argument to get input from the attorneys, and sort of the collaborative process of 3 judges looking at a case to make sure things were done right commences then and culminates in an opinion.
So you have the ability to say yes or no to a particular case, or for various reasons, or
we recuse ourselves from cases in which we might have some sort of personal conflict. All judges know lawyers in the community. Some have practiced with them. Others may happen to know a litigant. But once that happens, once we have concluded we don't have a conflict, we work on the cases that we're assigned. Within that 3-judge panel, one judge initially writes an opinion, and the other 2 work on helping that opinion to be as good as it can. Every once in a while there's a disagreement on a panel, and you might see a dissent, but for the most part we work together very well. We've got tremendous judges on the Court of Appeals, varied backgrounds, and we tend to wind up on the same page.
And at what point do you meet the appellants and have a discussion with them prior to the...
We don't always meet with the appellants or their lawyers, for that matter.
Yeah.
The only time that would happen is if there is an oral argument scheduled in open court. When those are scheduled, typically each party has 30 minutes to address their position and be questioned by the court. That's the only interaction with the lawyers, unlike district court that you see on TV with lawyers arguing to the trial judges and excitement happening in the courtroom. It's a little more sedate, even when we do have court on the Court of Appeals.
I'm going to change gears a little bit. I know you were appointed last year in July, right?
Yes, in July of 2011.
Did you know you were going to be appointed?
I had no idea I was going to be appointed.
So was that kind of a surprise when you...
It was a surprise to me. The process is an interesting one here in New Mexico. You've got to first be interviewed by a bipartisan judicial nominating commission and recommended by them.
Correct.
That was the first time I'd gone through that, and that's an interesting experience. It's a merit-based selection system, merit-based recommendation. Then you go, and our governor currently interviews everyone that is forwarded by the judicial nominating commissions, and I was interviewed by her, met her for the first time that day, and then appointed about a month later.
So till the recommendation goes through, she or he doesn't meet you, the governor I'm speaking, they don't meet you?
No, until the commission has recommended you to the governor, you really don't have any interaction at all with that office. The governor can only appoint new judges from the list that is forwarded to her, in this instance by the commission. In my job, there were 18 applicants. 7 names were forwarded to her office. She interviewed all 7 and then selected me.
Okay, and then once you're appointed, then you have to wait till then you're there temporarily till you get on the ballot.
The appointment is to fill a vacancy on the court until the next general election, when voters pick their next judge on the Court of Appeals. So I'm in that period right now.
Okay, and then once you go through the partisan election, then you're appointed. I mean, you're there for about 8 years.
Right. The terms vary depending on the court you're on. Court of Appeals terms are 8 years. The way it works is you do face one initial partisan contest, and then you join your term wherever it was. I think 2 years had already been spent on the term for the seat I'm in. So I think I would be up for retention in 6 years. The second time you're on the ballot is called a retention election.
Sure.
You don't have an opponent, but you need to get 57% in order to keep your job.
And this is statewide.
This is a statewide
Yeah,
race.
yeah.
All judges that are appointed run in the jurisdiction that their office covers. So, you know, we've got 13 judicial districts here in New Mexico. Appointees to those districts run within them. State judges like myself, and then, of course, Supreme Court justices would also be statewide races.
Yeah, it's almost equal to a Senate race.
It is. It's a lot of
pretty
ground to cover.
extensive,
It's a tremendous opportunity to get around New Mexico and see the communities and talk to people and experience firsthand all the things that make our state great.
So you're basically traveling right now all over?
I'm traveling a lot.
Between your cases and
yeah, I travel on weekends for the most part. You know, obviously I've got a job to do during the week,
yeah.
but I'm driving a lot on the weekends.
So you do a lot of weekend stuff?
I do.
Yeah. You originally came out from Louisiana?
Right. I was born and raised, well, I was born in New Orleans and raised just outside of New Orleans. In 1986, my family relocated to Taos, New Mexico. We've been here ever since. I went to law school out in California and then came straight here the following month to take the bar and have practiced here since 1994.
Okay. And I think you mentioned Pepperdine, right? You went to Pepperdine?
I went to Pepperdine University
What is
School
that
of
like?
Law. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's one of the, I think,
We talk to different lawyers, and I hear about Pepperdine.
one of
once in
the
a while.
more beautiful campuses in the United States, and a top-notch law school. I really enjoyed my 3 years there, served on the law review, began sort of my passion for written legal communication there, and was lucky enough to be able to move on to the areas of appellate law we discussed. But it was a great experience, and I'd recommend that school to anyone.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've spoken to a few lawyers. They say, "Oh, it's a pretty decent school." And
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
And then when you came back to New Mexico, you had to go through the bar exam here. Or how does that work?
Well, I came here. I graduated in May of '93, and I came here and took the bar. You know, the fact that I hadn't gone to law school here was a bit of a disadvantage. You have to get up to speed on some nuances of New Mexico law, some subjects that you may not have
the
covered.
New Mexico Constitution.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so how is it a pretty difficult process when you're going through the bar exam here?
Well, it's a rigorous process. You know, it involves a lot of analysis and concepts.
So you have to
need
take the bar
know.
exam twice, right? 'Cause
No, only one time. If you pass,
So you didn't want to take one in California?
there's a separate test, which is an ethics test
I see.
called the MPRE, but the bar is the primary test that you take, and once you've passed it, you become a member of the bar here in New Mexico. Of course, you know, there are certain conditions for you to continue your membership, but you don't have to take the test again.
Yeah. And you live in Santa Fe, right?
I live in Albuquerque.
Oh, you do?
You may ask that because our court, by statute, is centered in Santa
In
Fe,
Santa Fe, yeah.
as is the Supreme Court. But we have a satellite facility here in Albuquerque, which happens to be a mile from my house. So,
So you commute back and forth to Santa Fe?
I drive to Santa Fe when I need to, but my office is here in the Albuquerque building.
Okay. So how has it been since you got on the appellate court? What is your feel about the appellate court?
Well, it's been, I will tell you, an incredible experience. I didn't know the judges that are on this court personally. I think the world of them. We have, I think, a very talented court, as I mentioned to you, and we have one of the more unique things in the country. Our court is situated on the campus of a law school. It's the only such instance in the United States. So we have an interaction with UNM law students all the time. And I think the UNM community at large that's really special.
When you practiced law, did you do a lot of criminal defense? What was your personal firm?
Well, for 11 years, I was an assistant United States attorney in the U.S. Attorney's Office. I was a prosecutor, primarily violent crimes, many of those taking place on reservations in pueblos.
Mm-hmm.
I did asset forfeiture work. I did firearms prosecutions, any of a wide gamut of federal prosecution. In 2007, though, I left that office and started my own law practice. And then it was a natural extension, of course, of that criminal law experience to do criminal defense. So I did that, and the whole time I did a good bit of appellate work.
Hold
as
that
well.
thought for a second. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.